Every morning, at the exact same time, a war is waged. A war between two voices in your head. One says, just 5 more minutes. The other whispers, get up. This is your moment. And the outcome of this battle? It decides everything about your life. Most people lose this war before they even open their eyes. One day, a teacher stood before his students and said, today, I will give you the most important lesson of your life, but I will not teach it with words. I will teach it with a challenge. The students sat up, intrigued. Some exchanged glances. What kind of challenge could be that important? For the next 30 days, the teacher continued, I want you to do something very simple. When your alarm rings in the morning, wake up immediately. No snooze, no second thoughts, just wake up. Laughter filled the room. A boy named Max leaned back in his chair, smirking. That's it? That's the challenge? The teacher nodded. Yes, and I promise if you do this, your entire life will change. Some students shrugged it off. Others, curious but skeptical, decided to try. And then there was Jake. Jake wasn't the smartest. He wasn't the most athletic. He wasn't even the most hardworking. But for some reason, this challenge stuck with him. He wanted to see if the teacher was right. That night he set his alarm for 5 a.m. The next morning, it rang, loud and piercing. His body ached to stay in bed. His hand reached toward the snooze button, his mind whispering, just a few more minutes. But then he remembered the challenge. With every ounce of willpower, he forced himself up. His body screamed at him, but he did it. Meanwhile, across town, Max groaned as his alarm rang. He reached out, hit snooze, and mumbled, "This is dumb." And, just like that, a decision was made. 2 students, 2 choices, 2 futures. For the first few days, Jake hated everything about this challenge. His muscles were stiff. His eyelids were heavy. His body begged him to go back to sleep. But something strange was happening. By the second week, the exhaustion began to fade. Instead of feeling tired, he felt awake, in control. He started finishing his assignments earlier. He had time in the morning to think, to breathe, to move. He even started going for a short run before school, something he never imagined himself doing. Meanwhile, Max was struggling. He was always rushing, always late. He stayed up too late, overslept, and barely finished his assignments on time. He told himself he worked better under pressure, but deep down, he knew the truth. Jake was getting stronger, and Max was staying the same. 3 weeks into the challenge, their teacher gave them an assignment. You have 24 hours to complete it, he announced. No extensions. Jake didn't panic. He had trained himself to be disciplined. He planned his time, worked efficiently, and finished it before dinner. Max, however, did what he always did. He put it off. Procrastinated. Played video games. At 2 a.m., panic set in. He was exhausted, stressed, and by the time he finished, the sun was already rising. The next morning, Max dragged himself to class, exhausted, while Jake walked in fresh, prepared, and confident. The teacher stood at the front of the class. Today is the final day of the challenge, he said. Tell me, what have you learned? Jake raised his hand. At first, I thought this was just about waking up early. But now I understand. It's about self-control. When I controlled my mornings, I controlled my day. And when I controlled my day, I controlled my future. Silence filled the room. Even Max looked down, realizing he had wasted an opportunity. The teacher nodded. And that is the power of self-discipline. Most people think success is about luck, talent, intelligence. But the real secret, the real battle, happens in the moments no one sees. It happens when the alarm rings and you have a choice. Do you get up? Or do you hit snooze? It happens when you have a goal and you decide, do you take action? Or do you make excuses? The difference between winners and losers isn't some grand event. It's the small daily choices, every single day. The problem is, most people lose this battle before they even get out of bed. So the question is, will you tomorrow morning when your alarm rings, you have 2 choices: to stay in bed and be the same person you were yesterday, or to get up, take control, and become the person you know you're meant to be. Self-discipline is hard, but regret is much harder. So tell me, which choice will you make? If this story inspired you, let me know in the comments. And if you're ready to take control of your life, hit that like button, subscribe for more motivational stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. This is your wake-up call. Don't hit snooze. See you in the next one.